Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast!
Hi, so I'm back. I'm not dead. It's great. Still not quite 100%, but I'm rarely actually 100%, so it'll do. I can carry on. So thank you for your patience. So before we go into the final episode of Season 3, just want to kind of do some explanation, update, whatever you want to call it. Housekeeping, maybe. I'm probably going to have a couple of weeks or so where I'm looking at the other episodes, maybe sort of do all of them, so I don't have to have a pause between seasons, and sort of get all my notes together before obviously I commit them and record them and get them out to you. Just a side note, I do normally sort of bank some, I sort of do them in batches, but when I was doing the previous episode, Men Against Fire, I was having so many issues trying to record because I think I was starting to get to the bad kind of level of illness, and I just couldn't manage to get the Hated in the Nation episode done, so that's why you've had to wait a week. So I will try and make sure that doesn't happen again. It's a commitment I've always made to myself, try and not miss weeks, so there you go. But that's enough of the background gubbins, you don't need to know all that. All you need to know is that we're finally back, and I hope you appreciated the little intro card that I just did. So obviously this episode is quite topical, although I believe it's CCD, colony collapse disorder, has been found to actually be something that's not as bad as people are making it out to be, although we should still be obviously looking after wildlife and not just screwing the planet over. But obviously it's very topical, and the benefits of bees, and how would we cope without bees? They do provide such a valuable, vital function to the continued existence of much of the life on this planet. So I thought it was very good, and as I say, the solution of having automated drones, quite a clever idea. Use technology to replace, the thing that's causing us the problems, use that to solve those problems. It's responsible. And I did appreciate the fact that, this was handled quite well. So of course with Joe, kind of get a Daily Mail writer, by all intents and purposes, very much the disabled aren't that bad, or, or this kind of thing, kind of very racist and ableist. And as I say, I was just that's a male writer right there. Whether that was the intent, I'm probably sure it is, But I did find it quite interesting as well how she is very much what we perhaps see of these kind of people who are in sensationalist media, who say the things, that aren't PC. They're just oh, this is funny. Look at all the fallout. Look at everyone hating me. And I did like that, the fact that she's painted just really as just a horrible person. I think it made it easier for us to get on board when, of course, she's dead. Now we see with Karen, when she's at home, she's very almost jaded, perhaps, as we sort of see that as she goes throughout, where she's saying to Blue, you're just naive, you're young, you'll learn. But she's very blue, she's very jaded. Blue. She's she's very jaded, and she's very lonely. She goes home, she's I'm going to do a proper dinner. Nah, I'm going to have some Pringles. And some ice cream. She's living a very lonely existence. We never find out the background really for that. We never get much of it in detail. Why she's so lonely. Is it that she can't connect because she sees all this crime, all this horrible side of humanity? It would make sense, but we never get a full sort of answer. But it started to, obviously after the initial thing, sort of with the courtroom and sort of obviously the thing with Joe. It was starting to become a bit CSI Black Mirror, and I like that. It's a new direction. It's quite interesting to see them take that idea, very CSI kind of unpack the mystery and find out what's going on. But it is, if you will, the worst case scenario of slacktivism. We see people kind of tweeting things, use a hashtag to show your disapproval of a company or an individual. and people feel like they've done something, but they haven't. Even signing a petition is more than that. Although I will concede that many sort of things have been achieved through social media and Reddit, Tumblr. People pressure can work, but it is considered selectivism because it can just be fire and forget. Similarly to Men Against Fire, you're dehumanizing it. You're just bang off a tweet, whatever like that. There's no one on the other side that you're really bothered about, and I think that's what this episode really picks up the thread of. This whole idea of if you remove yourself from it, you don't have to worry about the consequences. You sort of take away the human element, which again is a very scary idea. Throughout we're kind of given like the red herrings, which you expect really in these kind of things. For example, the first time we see obviously the teacher, it's like, oh, it's all that, and then we're sort of meant to suspect these people throughout, and obviously, we don't have to wait too long before getting the actual culprit, which is good. I think if you're going to use red herrings, you've got to sort of get to the actual culprit fairly quickly, otherwise it just feels very rote. But I did find it interesting the ADIs were very focused and really just targeting the ones that they were sent after, at least when the game really started. I found that quite clever, how their programming was such that they are focused on this, this image recognition. Ignoring Karen and Blue in the safe house, which was quite an horrific scene. And even in the other situations, the husband wasn't hurt, the guys with the rapper weren't hurt. It was very much, these are the guys, these are the people you're after, go and take them out. But of course, as we learn, the retribution was not for those people. Yes, they weren't the best people in the world, and it was kind of good to make them see their errors, not good to kill them. That's a bit far, but obviously every time that you use that tweet, every time that you do that, you're then on the list. And of course with Garrett, he's obviously got that experience through Tess of the issues she had, how destroyed her life was with social media.
Like having a whole weather system turn against me. It was just hate message after hate message around the clock, all piling on. And it's hard to describe what that does to your head. And suddenly there's a million invisible people all talking about how they despise you.
And that's really the issue here. People's lives can be destroyed with social media. Like I've said, there's better ways to make a difference, but people do have have an impact with that, and it's very scary, really. This idea that we can just completely ruin a company or completely ruin a person's life through social media, which again ties it back in. There's a lot of ties back, I feel, in this season of Black Mirror in particular, ties it back in very nicely with Nosedive. If you look at This Is Now, or very, very near future, then Nosedive's sort of further future, where we take this idea of, sort of social media really having an impact on people's lives to the logical extreme. And, sort of Garrett's manifesto really proves everything, and obviously the end and everything like that. The manifesto is what says, why should people's lives be completely decimated by one little indiscretion? When people are like, oh, I hate this, I hate this person. Tweets are flung across the world, and those people suffer long-term consequences, sometimes getting a level of PTSD over perhaps something very small and minor that isn't a major issue. Their lives can be entirely ruined because it takes a lot of effort to get those results withdrawn from search results and things like that. If you can get that done, not everywhere provides that sort of outlet, and that's really, I think, the crux of this episode, how social media can bring people together in common goals, but it can also forget that there are sometimes real people behind those goals. Now, there is one question that I had, and again, I mentioned this before. Say there was a fully covered Muslim woman, okay? In full, you can only sort of see the eyes. How would the ADIs target that? Could that happen? That's one weird question that I did get as I was watching, which I'm kind of smiling at, because it's kind of silly in a way. It's like, why am I thinking of such extremes? But that's what I do. This is why this isn't just a review. This is analysis. I'm thinking about like actual ramifications in the world. If everyone walked around in some kind of covering that just in full leathers and a motorcycle helmet, would the bees know? I'm calling them the bees. The ADIs. Would they know? Would they find you? I don't know. It's very unclear. Additionally, did blue have to disappear for the ending to succeed? I know a lot of the time, sort of when people go undercover, they've effectively got to disappear, but how much would Garrett have been looking for blue? Did she need to actually be completely not there and, sort of have it as though the whole, she may as well have been dead. This whole sort of thing with Karen in the courtroom, where she's basically making it sound like she's dead, but then she's there. And she's actually undercover, if you will, and following him. The ending just wasn't quite right for me. It was weird. It was obviously the season end, and I do think it was not the strongest to end. That's my opinion. Some people may have loved it, but to me, it wasn't. It either could have wrapped up in 45 minutes like the rest and therefore been slotted anywhere. Or if it had to be 90 minutes, maybe have that as the opener, open with the 90 minutes. I don't feel that this was the strongest. I enjoyed it, as I say, there's lots of great ideas in it, but I don't think it was the strongest ending I've ever seen. So there's one more sort of question regarding how the actual Twitter users are targeted by the ADIs, because we learn it's through IMEI and therefore sort of geolocating. Now, phones have IMEIs, that's fine. I don't believe other devices do. Now, I might be wrong on this, so please correct me if that's the case, but if I am not wrong, so if you've only ever, say, used Twitter on your computer and you've not got a smartphone, so it's never been installed on there, so it wouldn't have any trace to your IMEI, would you be able to be located? Would, if it was an unregistered burner phone, even, say, or whatever, would you be able to be located? Now, you can say that maybe if you've got your basic address details or location details on Twitter or whatever, it's got a chance of being able to find you. It could also perhaps cross-reference records, so it goes, that's your name in that location, that could be you, cross-references it with mobile companies to find out who you are. But again, an unregistered burner phone. If there's no evidence of that being registered against you and you've never used Twitter from it, that phone would be like your life insurance, because it's unclear as to whether they are using facial recognition for that. It does say it's the IMEI, but does it have a secondary thing? Because a person with an IMEI in a location could be right in the middle of a group of 30 people. Is it going to attack everyone in that location just in case? So, and therefore, how is it getting that facial data? Your Twitter profile picture? Well, if you're like me and you've got another person in there, does it kill both me and the guy in the picture? Would, if you've got an illustration, would it just go, I don't know? And if you've never posted any personal pictures on there, so there's no photographic you on your own for it to take, assuming that, as I say, it's taking pictures from your Twitter profile, does it then cross-reference to other social media? Does it take forever to try and find you, or does it just go, well, there's one that slipped through the net? There's a lot of questions as to the effectiveness, I guess, of this system, and it's all interesting. you know, like I say, I don't hate the episode, but I think it's given me a lot more where I'm like, that might not work, than the others. And I mean, I did love, you know, a lot of the sort of additional cast, like the guy who's in charge of the ADIs. I really liked him. He had a lot of creepiness to him at first. You're like, oh, maybe he's actually doing it, or maybe like it's the woman. But actually, no, he's a really nice guy and really sweet, and I just wanted to take him home and give him a cuddle. Not an inappropriate cuddle, like just a cuddle. Just a nice, friendly cuddle. I like him, but not that way. So perhaps not the strongest, you know, to end on. And speaking of endings, you know, here we are. We're at the end. We've made it. So thank you all for joining me on this slightly longer journey. Like I say, I'll try not to do that again. I will take a couple of weeks where I'm putting in, I don't want to say filler videos, it sounds awful, but more akin to what I was doing before, you know, while I sort of watch and sort of get my ideas together of the other episodes of Black Mirror that are out there. And I will get them up as soon as possible. If you click on the little bell thing, you will get notified. I hate doing that, but it works. So that's my shameless self-promotion bit over. So until next time, as always, take care.